What is up, guys, and welcome to ATV Farms, episode 175, but American Farming, episode 1 of the 1980s farming series on Wisconsin. So if you guys haven't watched the YouTube short that I just dropped about 5 minutes ago, I recommend you guys go and watch it, because that short is going to run you guys through the scheduling that I have planned for videos this weekend. So there's going to be 3 videos today. The short that just got uploaded, and then this American farming video, and then one more real life farm video coming out later this evening. So with all that said, let's get this series underway. So the story behind this series is I inherited my grandpa's farm here in Madison County, Wisconsin. As you can see, we are currently at RCC. My buddy owns RCC, and he just hooked me up with a sweet paint job on my 1971 Ford F-150. I know I said 80s, but this truck is 10 years old. I bought it brand new back in 1971. So, let's get down to the farm, and I will give you guys a in-depth farm tour. And shout out to Owen, who owns RCC. Now, it's been a while since I've been back to the farm, so we're going to have to run the GPS out to the farm. Now, the last time I was up here, Grandpa said he was going to leave his 1968 Ford F-100 pickup for me to use just in case I don't have a pickup. But since he retired, or he passed away in 1969, a year after I was out there last. So the farm has sat dormant from 1969 to 1980. It is currently January 31st, 1980. And we're currently starting this series out with $105,600. So, if I remember right, I believe this is the place up here on the left. Yes, I am right. And while we're here, we might as well check the mail, because it's been from 1969. It has been 11 years since anyone's been here, so let's go ahead and hop out and check the mail really quick and see how many bills the farm has and how far in debt the farm is. What? Oh, that's surprising. Oh, wait. Never mind, there's 3 papers, and they're all labeled for me? Oh, they're the inheritance letters that Grandpa left right before he passed. So, we'll put those down there in the glove compartment. Let's head on down into, well, it looks like Grandpa planted that field of oats. Looks like it's 20 years old. Or 10 years old. I don't see how it's still alive. Well, we'll check the field here in a minute when I take you guys through the farm. So, that's the plan. Farm and equipment tour for episode 1. Episode 2, we might be picking up another implement for the farm. So, we'll start right here with this shed, or what's down here at the bottom half of the farm. So, first up, we've got an old 1898 corn crib that my great-grandfather put up right before he passed. And that was right before my grandfather took over the family farm. So this corn crib was in use from 1890 to 1914, right before World War I. I don't know why they stopped using it, but this corn crib has a lot of history to it. Because I remember getting stuck in the dang thing one summer, and I finally found my way out after 13 hours of trying to find my way out. So there's the 1890 corn crib. You've got a tree that apparently grew up. Now, while we're right here, I'll just go ahead and talk about the field. I brought my field map with me, so I can pull up the map once we get out here. Well, the oats I don't know if that's oats or if that's wheat. But I can tell you right now that this field is not dead. So, probably this summer, we will have to harvest this field, whatever it is. You know what, while we're at it, let's go ahead and pull up the map. Let's go crop type. So we are currently at field 9. Well, my predicament was right. My predicament was right. The field is oats, and they are ready to harvest. So, since we're right here on the PDA, I will show you guys how many acres we currently run. Plots. Grandpa owned 2 fields. Field 2, which is 3.33 acres of prime Wisconsin farmland, as well as field 9, that is 7.19 acres of prime Wisconsin farmland. So in total, we farm 10.56 acres of land. Now my plan is to buy more land and upgrade the operation throughout the years. But since we are starting the series off in the 1980s, I think 2 pieces of land should be plenty. So that's enough about the fields. Let's get up to the actual equipment. So I've already talked about the corn crib and one field 9. Field 2, I believe is back there. No, field 2 is the field right across the creek. So field 9 and field 2 are right next to each other. They've got a creek that divides them. So I've already talked about the 1971 Ford F-150. We've got a 2-barrel fuel system, 1 for diesel and 1 for gasoline. So, and then right here we've got an old 1943 Quonset storage shed. I'll give you guys kind of a walk around of the 1943 Quonset that Grandpa put up. He somehow managed to avoid World War II. But this is what the 1943 Quonset looks like all the way around. And I believe from the last time I was up here, I think Grandpa's only got... Okay, we actually have to go around. I think Grandpa's only got 1 piece of equipment in this Quonset storage shed. So, why don't we head inside and see what's in there? Yes, he kept it. He kept my favorite tractor. So, you guys probably didn't know this. At this time in farming in the 80s, Versatile was one of the best tractors to run. And Grandpa's got two of them. He's got two 1975 Versatile 935s. This one, however, happens to be my favorite. Now, let's see if the bottle of Mountain Dew that I had the last time I was in this is still in there. I know it's going to be really old, but let's just see if it's still in there. It is! Oh, yeah. Just listen to that engine purr. You can't tell me that an old 70s Versatile doesn't sound good. But this is what the interior of one of the Versatile 935s looks like. I'll talk about the other one as well. But let's continue with the tour. So, the Versatile is pulling a 1979 Landau vertical tillage tool. So, you guys won't see this tool in action until, or you won't see this whole setup in action until next spring or fall, whichever I decide to. If I decide to do fall tillage, you'll probably see it in action right after the corn and soybean harvest. Or if I wait till spring, you won't see it in action until late March, early April. But there's the Versatile 935, one of my favorite tractors of all times out of the 70s and 80s, and the Landau vertical till. So that's everything in the Quonset and at the bottom half of the farm. So let's jump back in the truck and head up to the north side of the farm, which is where the main machine shed and all the other action is. But I might as well talk about the grain bin system, and actually I'll pull up a little bit further. Right there. So to start us out, we'll talk about the building here on the left. This is an old 1851 hog barn. Yes, my family did run a hog operation in the early 1800s when my great-great-grandfather bought this whole property in 1801. Yes, my great-great-grandfather bought this farm in 1801, and I believe the house over there in the corner is the house and the garage are the oldest two buildings on the property. But the old hog barn right here was built in 1851 by my great-grandfather. So now we'll come over here and talk about the bin system. This whole system is fairly new. So you've got one grain leg right here. These are all Agco grain. This whole system is Agco. But right here you've got one Agco grain leg. This grain leg was built in 1977. 80, 79, 78, 70. So, this grain leg was built in 1977, and it is currently 4 years old. Hasn't been used yet. So, I don't know why they built a new grain leg in 1977 when the farm sat dormant from 1968 to right now in 1980. But to continue on, this dryer here is a 1965 dryer. So this dryer is over 10 years old. And I don't even know if it still works. We'll have to test that when we put some crop in the bins. Or we'll have to run some... We'll probably test it by running oats through it. And then this Agco grain leg right here that the Kilbros wagon is sitting under, that was built in 1958. So this whole grain system, to be honest, is fairly old. Now that bin there in the back, I had that put up in 1978. So the far bin to the right that you guys are staring directly at, that one is only 2 years old. Same with this dryer here. It's 4 years old, but I had those two built before I came out here because I kind of figured that the old grain system was basically trash. So that's everything on the grain system. I'll go ahead and talk about this wagon since I'm right here. So right here we have a 1968 Kilbros gravity wagon that'll hold, I think, 1,500 bushels of grain. And you guys will see a lot of this wagon in action during the fall. So let's move on. So I've already talked about everything down there. The corn crib, fields 9 and fields 2. The Quonset, the Versatile, and the Landau, that's inside. The old hog barn that's right there. The grain system. The Kilbros wagon, and my 71 F-150. But let's go ahead and keep moving. So we'll go ahead and park up here at the garage. So as I said earlier, the garage here is an 1801 garage built by my great-grandfather. Is that Freddy? Yes! Freddy's still alive. But real quick before I talk about the dog. The house and garage are the oldest pieces of building on the property. 1801 house and an 1801 garage. But right here is the best Beagle Basset, is the best Basset Hound in the world, named Fred, after Smokey and the Bandit. So, to continue on with the tour, we've got one of the newer buildings on the property. Well, not really new, but not really old either. We've got a 1975 machinery shed that I had built so I could store some of Grandpa's Grandpa's equipment and get it out of the elements. The only equipment that's gonna sit outside is my truck and the wagon over there. So let's head inside the machine shed and I will give you guys a tour of the inside. I don't know what that's about, but I don't know if that's... No, okay, never mind. That's part of the building. I was kind of worried there for a second. I thought that was a piece of equipment sticking out of the side of the building, but no. So we'll start over here in the corner and work our way across. He did! He did! Yes! So we've got 2 pickup trucks in case one goes down. But right here we have a 1969 Case IH 955 12-row planter for corn and soybeans. Or probably just corn, because we'll probably buy a seeder to seed soybeans, oats, and or wheat. So 1965 Case IH 955 12-row planter. And then right here was also one of my favorite tractors, the 1968 International 1086. This was, I believe, the third tractor that my grandpa ever purchased for his operation, when he upgraded from what my great grandfather ran. So 1968 International 1086 with rear duals. That's going to go on the planter right there. And then to continue on, we've got Grandpa's dent side 1969 Ford F100 pickup truck that he left for us. And then, just like the other one, a 1975 Versatile 935 articulated model. And then right here is the real moneymaker of the farm, our 1979. Yeah, I bought this thing brand new last year. Had it hauled in from Iowa, because last time I was up here, Grandpa told me we needed to sell the combine that he was running and get something newer. So I bought this 1979 Case IH axial flow 2144 combine. She's got, I think, maybe 5 documented engine hours and 0 separator hours, because I bought it brand new right out of the factory. The only 5 engine hours was when they unloaded it off the trailer. We'll hop up inside and I will show you guys what the inside of this combine looks like. Man, also, listen to the engine of this thing purr. But this is the inside of the 2144 combine. So that's all the that's all the tractors and implements in this shed. There's one more shed I want you guys to see, and then that'll be the end of episode 175. Now, over here is 90% of our moneymakers. Well, yeah. We've got a 1985. I don't want to say 85. Nah, it's not an 85. It's a 75, so it's 5 years old. We've got a 1975 20-foot grain header for the oats, soybeans, and wheat that we are going to be harvesting on this farm. So 1975 25-foot grain header. And then right here we've got a 1979 C840 8-row Case IH corn head that I also bought last year, as the same thing with the grain header right there. And then the last thing on the farm I want to show you guys in today's episode is the 1975 Brent V1100 grain cart, or auger wagon on tracks. So here's the auger arm. I believe this thing will hold 1,100 bushels of grain. Yeah, this auger wagon will hold 1,100 bushels of grain. And you guys won't see this thing in action until you'll see it in action this summer, probably June or July, when we harvest oats. but you won't see it in action again until late September, late September or early October. So, that's the end of episode 1 of the 1980s farming series. I will see you guys in the real life video, which my goal is to have it on the channel by 7:30 tonight. I'll see you guys then.